What is going on YouTube and mostly our free Tendies Fantasy League mates? That is what this type of content is oriented toward. We are going to knock out some mock drafts today. We have a UFC card that starts a little bit early. Pretty good card that I want to see, so I'm going to make sure to tune into that. Ted, why don't you go ahead and tell us? I see up and down and out here. 5 minutes. I see fake punt in 5 minutes.
Go to fake punt in 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay, so I wanted to do a middle of the draft. I'm typically only mocking from the middle of the draft, but I also wanted to do one from the end because I think the end is very easy. So let's see if one opens up. If one of these dudes can move out of the 3 or 4, I will certainly move there, but I think that is by far the trickiest part, so that's what we're going to focus on. Pretty good UFC card today that I want to make sure I am around for. So we're going early here. What is
I don't think
up?
it's a very good UFC card. I think there's Mackenzie Dern, and then you got Makachev. That's it.
What's
The rest
up?
of it's crap.
What is up, Boof guy? Well, no, I mean there's not bigger names, but there should be some good fight. There's a couple of like plus 1000s on there, right? So it's not gonna be great. James Cook is my favorite first round pick. All right, let's go, dude. You are in a happy place. Yeah, we are right there with you. James Cook is our RB3 collectively as a channel. I have 25% exposure to him on Underdog. And I'm pretty comfortable chasing him all the way up into the first round. Totally support that.
Did not even see that we got our first chat fast today.
Yeah.
Usually it takes like an hour for someone to drop this guy, but yeah, no, this is a pro James Cook channel. We will tell you to irresponsibly and aggressively pull him up points.
Yeah, and as we're gonna get into with our strategy here, right? That's why we're doing these kind of things. For me, I'm at the point where, because of the way the board shakes out, and specifically the way your home league boards are going to shake out, I'm probably just ripping James Cook or Jonathan Taylor from the 5 pick on. So, and then, I'll mix in some guys if I end up getting way overweight on them, because I'm going to do 15 to 20 redrafts this year, and I don't want like 20 grand of prize money weighing on, 2 guys or 1 guy's health. We'll mix in a little bit, maybe some like, I have a Marion Hampton as my RB6. I feel good about Ashton Genty. I know a lot of people will be taking Christian McCaffrey up there. For me, it's too nerve-wracking of a pick to make when I feel so good about Cook, and I love Jonathan Taylor. He's going to get receiving work, and they have a tough schedule. They won't be able to use Ray Davis like that. They have to spell Cook. Yeah, I don't think Cook is going to my thesis with Cook is certainly not that he's going to come out and get, 75% of the work or 80% of the work. That's not how they run things. But when you have the staff there, the offensive staff that architectured the 205 targets to Alvin Kamara over his first and second year in the NFL, including the season that he was a rookie and played part-time, if you guys remember that. I remember Keith, Ted in our home league, got Alvin Kamara, and he was running the league there for a minute with him. To me, the room for expansion with Cook is just, can he get another 15 to 20 catches? And if that happens, and then also we don't know how the current coaching staff feels about rushing Josh Allen on the goal line. Like, we don't know if that was a McDermott thing or this OC. Josh Allen, I think, has like 41 touchdowns the last 2 or 3 years. Like, if some of that goes towards Cook a little bit, or maybe Ray Davis, like, I think there's real room for Cook to be right there next to the Bijans and Gibbs of the world if this year breaks right for him.
I think that the Josh Allen, they call it the snowplow. That's their version of the tush push. I think that like from inside the 1 yard line or the 1 yard line, that's happening.
Yeah.
But the big difference between like the last year of James Cook and 2 years ago is he actually started getting goal line work or inside the 5 work, which he was not before. His snaps have increased the past 2 years, so they are only giving him more work. They have a financial investment in him now, so they paid him to be like a feature back. I think that we could get upwards of 70% of the work.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah, I think we could. And especially, again, to me though, the most.
Oh, hey.
What's up?
Mama Bayham stopped in. What's up, Mom?
Your mom?
Hey.
Oh my God, we joke all the time that our mothers would watch the chat. She actually did. Hi, Mrs. Ted. How are you? But yeah, man. And then look, Texans, Lions, Chargers, Patriots, Rams for the Bills' first 5 games. Absolute gauntlet. I understand, but I also think that Josh Allen has a proclivity toward turning big games into an absolute shoot high. Oh my God, that's so funny. I think Josh Allen has a proclivity towards turning games into a shootout when they're hard. So I feel totally fine about James Cook there.
My mom's more of a writer than yours, dude. Where's your
Yeah,
mom in our chat,
yeah,
bro?
man. I don't know what they're. She's going to New York for a wedding, so she's eating Cat's Deli this week, dude. That is a big. That is like a. I'm a huge like Reuben guy. That's like a bucket list item for me. She gets to go do this week. It's the only reason I would go to New York. It's actually the only reason is for Cat's Deli.
Dude, I will not eat a Reuben. I think they're gross.
Corned beef? You're not a corned beef or pastrami guy? That's absolutely absurd.
No.
You can buy one sandwich and get two meals out of it. My strategy is to select anyone named Johnson. All right.
Yeah, there was one year in my youth where mom joined a fantasy league and she drafted like Andre Johnson and Chad Johnson and Brad Johnson.
Yeah.
It was the only Johnson team.
Yeah, my mom will like send me money to play for her in like daily fantasy, but that's about it. She'll just be like, "Hey, play $50 for me, see how it goes." Yeah.
Getting the
Okay.
queue set up. So I think that you going at 11 is probably okay practice since I'm gonna be here and not allow you to have James Cook
Hmm.
if he falls.
Yeah. So for me, this is where I'm a little bit counter consensus. The sharp leagues have Genty up at the 8 to 10 pick. For me, and then a lot of sharps are just outright fading O'Marion Hampton. For me, O'Marion Hampton is my RB6, and the offensive context between him and Genty leads me to prefer Hampton. So if I wanted to do things that aren't going to get me made fun of, I could go and get Barkley or Genty because that's kind of chalk, and no one's going to roast me at the end of the year if that goes south. What I would probably be doing is taking O'Marion Hampton and then taking Chase Brown, Genty, or Barkley, whoever comes back to me. So we will play it like I actually would play it in the leagues. Shout out to Pat Curran, legendary upside. I believe. Oh my God, we are gonna mute that right now. I believe that O'Marion Hampton has 20 to 21 point per game upside this year, and I think that's what we should be chasing when we're taking running backs at the turn. And we end up getting Genty anyway. So Hampton Genty would be my start there. I'd be very happy with that. Again, this is how me and Ted are most often going to run our drafts from the back. Ted goes James Cook, Devon Achane, fantastic start. I might prefer Derrick Henry to Devon Achane and have PPR, but you can't complain about their the quotes about Achane usage are so incredibly bullish this year. Like I don't know how you could even if you don't like the offense, I think you need to be taking shots on him in the second.
Yep, and this is the start that we are going to recommend people go for here in these rooms because we're going to see with this draft board that all of the running backs tend to get kind of pushed up. Usually they're not playing like an underdog.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get those two, what you perceive to be elite running backs in early, you can kind of feast on this falling wide receiver value that we're going to see. Like Jeremiah Love 212, that's not super unchalky, I guess, but like I think in round 3 here we're going to start seeing some guys get pulled up.
Yep. It'll be in our draft guide, right? So we have the draft broken into 3 tiers in the beginning. There's these two, right? The two unique weapons. Lamar Zay or Burrow Chase Brown. I'm going to assume because you're always asking about the DFS that's a DFS question. I would probably lean Lamar and Zay there, but I mean the Colts do have a good secondary, technically. Um, I think I'm going to lean Lamar Zay there, but let me double check. I built. I'll share with you my DFS thing after we get these picks out of the way. After Ted makes his pick here, let us get through this turn, and then I will totally tell you what I'm doing for DFS, dude.
Yeah, like we're seeing end of the 3rd round Rashee Rice here. Like,
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of
Yep.
value.
Yep, and then I am not a Chris Olave guy, but I'm increasingly becoming one with the news of the Tyson injury. So this is why this is the best start. Look at the value you can pick here. I'm still going to take Emeka Egbuka like he's playing week 1 because I was really, really high on Emeka. He might have been there on the back end of the turn. I love Waddle too. But I'm pretty happy if I come away with like an Emeka or Waddle or a McConkey and Igbuka or a McConkey and Waddle. I would take Garrett Wilson here. I just prefer him least to these guys. I think Josh Jacobs, if you wanted to go robust RB, is a perfectly fine start. So these are the kind of starts you can build. I don't prefer McConkey with Hampton per se, but I mean, it's okay. I'm fine doing it. Emeka Egbuka, Lad McConkey, Omarion Hampton, Ashton Genty start for me. Let's see what Ted rounds out his four with.
I'm gonna go 3 RB here. In underdog, I'd be worried about that start, but it's gonna be really nice here. In the back half of the fifth is where a lot of that Terry and Mike Evans and Luther. Well, Luther Burden goes a little bit earlier, but you can pretty much count on Terry and Evans being down there, which I'd be happy to slot in as a wide receiver too.
Yeah. CMC Bowers is a high octane start. I'm okay with CMC Bowers, certainly. Again, for me, I'm a little bit, so CMC Bowers, like, that's pretty cool. But from the four, I don't like leaving Puka Nacua on the board for CMC. I know we're talking about running back positional scarcity, and that's certainly a real thing. But I think Puka and Jamar Chase are such historical outliers as fantasy assets. I think it's like a little bit irresponsible to leave them on the board for anyone. So to me, it's very clearly it's Bijan, Jameer, and then I prefer Chase to Puka because Chase can drop like 55 points in a given week, but Puka can drop 45 points in a given week. So yeah, but it is a good start if you get it. Totally comfortable with that if that's what I'm rolling with. I've noticed like in some home leagues you can go Bijan Bowers and then like Bijan Bowers Love, Bijan Bowers Hall, Bijan Bowers Jacobs, and then just sit here and attack receiver through the middle rounds. I think that's really great. If you get the setup to do that, I would do it.
And you can see here for the fourth round, that kind of like where we see an underdog, that fifth round, like dead zone RB, he's getting pushed up there. So like Jadarian Price goes at like 5-1, for example, right? Monty was a mid fourth round pick. So it's going to get to a point here where if you don't have your running backs, you are going to be picking out of the bargain bin.
Yep.
Versus like the wide receiver value on the board right now to me is insane.
Yep. I've literally written to Yahoo. I wrote to Matt Harmon on Twitter that this stupid snap thing it does, and then you can't pull the board out. You see, that's really not conducive to streaming, unfortunately. And we're going to be streaming a bunch of these drafts later in the year. It's just sort of the way she goes. So we will check who Ted came away with there. Okay, so we're on the turn. I have Christian Watson and Parker Washington in essentially the same tier. We're going to see if we can get Parker to come back to us. If not, I'm perfectly happy with J-Mo Williams there. I may end up, if depending on how the summer goes, I may just end up being a Parker Washington drafter that's taken him like as soon as Mike Evans is off the board. Okay, so we do get it. And again, right, this is why I'm starting running back. I'm seeing people on Reddit and Twitter start to say like, does the fact that the whole fantasy community lock in on this one strategy, is it time to be counter meta? I think that is a ridiculous way to conceptualize fantasy football. People have locked into it, and this is what our draft guide is going to be centered around, because it is the objectively correct way to build your roster based on the value pockets on the board. If I came away with this in our 2-flex free Tendies fantasy leagues, I would be over the moon. Emeka Egbuka, Lad McConkey, Omarion Hampton, Ashton Genty, Christian Watson, Parker Washington. Let's see what Theodore has done on his end. Ted gets Mike Evans, again, a very big channel favorite of ours. He's close to an instant click for me in round 3. So he gets Mike Evans to pair with Rashee Rice. And then Jaden Daniels, who I believe, I think Ted does too, has QB1 overall upside. This is why we build our rosters the way we do. I think there actually is an objectively correct way to attack the board this year, and I think it's the way we're doing it that is the correct way to do so.
It's all about what your room looks like, right? So if you have a sharper league, for example, and more people are kind of paying attention to content, then maybe the value wouldn't be as good, I guess. So here, I will take a falling Jordan Tyson.
Yeah, so you probably don't need to go this heavy this early, but at 83, I think Dak Prescott is like a pseudo wide receiver one, meaning he's a wide receiver one, not a pseudo wide receiver one, but a pseudo like top 6 guy. He could spike in any given week. So that's what we'll do. And then it's if Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence, or Justin Herbert are there at the end of the round, I like it. And then what I like to do is take a very high upside running back in this range to go with my double hero start, because if they hit, then my flex spot's going crazy. For me, that's going to be Blake Corum. I don't have to rely on him to start. I don't have to rely on him to flex. Ideally, to me, that is just a free ticket. Where if I, especially in our double flex leagues, if Blake Corum hits his like 95th percentile outcome and you throw him into this lineup, you're gonna destroy people, right? So that is always what I like my third running back to be from the double hero start. Ted gets Chris Godwin, again another channel favorite. Jordan Tyson, another channel favorite. So Ted building a fantastic roster there, right? We're both not really particularly worried about chasing onesies up the board. He's going to go even further than I am. I did take Dak there. For me, it's like Dak, Prescott, Purdy is sort of the last. I don't like the Bo Nix ankle stuff that's going on. So that's making me a little nervous. But I do traditionally punt on one onesie. That's a nice price for Brooks. Yeah, again, Brooks, I would consider. Brooks to me is just a matter of like, I want to see it. I want to see how he looks in preseason. I'll chase him all the way up into the mid-7th, early 8th. I would probably be taking him above Corum if I really do feel convicted that he's going to be the starter. But when you look at the difference in the offense that Corum and Brooks are in, and let's say you're making a similar 50-50 bet that one of them can get more work, even though I do think Brooks is more likely to just outright win the role. What do you win if you win? With Corum, what you win is, league destroying.
So we had Kyle Monungai is a RB4, which I'm obsessed with here.
Yeah.
Really like that.
Yeah, so for me, this is down to Gainwell or Harvey. Yeah, we'll probably do a Harvey there. Okay. And then we'll see. I mean, typically what ends up happening in these rooms is you're just better off way punting tight end once you get here. So I could take like Kincaid has like an interesting upside case to be made there. I'm not really a fan of feeling like I need to fill out my roster totally. I'm wide open here actually with what I could do. On this one, I would take Gainwell. Finish our running back room. So that's the running back room. Pretty low investment, too. I didn't really have to spend up on anyone. Besides the first round. Hampton, Genty, Corum, Harvey, Gainwell. That is, again, how I want my room structured. I believe those are 3 league-winning tickets you can take out with some volume for Gainwell. I think Gainwell will be startable. Harvey should be the third down back. And then 4 receivers I feel amazing about. And then I punt on one onesie almost always. So punt it on tight end. We will let the universe decide what we get back. I've seen Brooks in the 5th in some drafts. Yeah, so I understand. I'm an aggressive Brooks drafter. I have like a 22% position on Underdog that I built mostly at pick 105, like 100 to 105. I just think you want to be a little bit careful, dude, about chasing him all the way up. Like when you start getting into like, do I want a, Marvin Harrison Jr. or Brooks? Do I want a Parker Washington or Brooks? Do I want... Yeah, that's sort of the range. A Tootin. I've seen people say you should take him over Tootin. Like, to me, that's a little bananas.
Yeah, 5th round is way too expensive for Brooks.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So I had Shaheed and Stribling there, and I get sniped at the very end. So this is where kind of me and Yanni differ in our strategies. I like getting 2 quarterbacks in the boat, and to me, the 2 quarterbacks that are worth adding on are Love and Baker. So I just throw on a round 11 Jordan Love.
Yeah, so that would have been a very comfy Mark Andrews for me. He goes right before. I actually prefer Juwan Johnson to Ferguson, even though it's a stack. I think Juwan Johnson's going to see some pretty serious volume now that Tyson could miss time. We still have to wait on that, but could. So my opinion is that the main beneficiary of that is Juwan Johnson. Okay, and then I always like a big upside swing as my wide receiver 5. The board's actually pretty skimpy. I much prefer Casey Concepcion to Denzel Boston, but I always like it to be a rookie that could get a big role. I'm not a Jacoby Myers drafter. I fade him pretty aggressively. I would get a good draft grade if I did it, but he's the kind of guy I just hate to draft. So we will go Denzel Boston as our wide receiver 5.
Oh man, I got sniped on the sniped on my Tyrone Tracy there.
Yep, Tyrone Tracy's a big favorite of ours as well.
So in this room, because I feel really good about running backs, I feel like I can take the shot on Zach Charbonnet and just throw him in my IR.
Yep. So here's my roster so far: Dak Prescott, Emeka Egbuka, Lad McConkey, Marion Hampton, Ashton Genty, Juwan Johnson, Christian Watson, Parker Washington, Blake Corum, R.J. Harvey, Kenny Gainwell, Denzel Boston.
Then I got Jaden Daniels, Rasheed Rice, Mike Evans, James Cook, Devon Achane, Isaiah Likely, Javonte Williams in the flex. Then bench is Jordan Tyson, Chris Godwin, Kyle Monunga, Jordan Love, and Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah, I think you're winning on that one. That is very good. Okay.
Also, by the way, your draft board is different than mine, and the reason you were getting that is because you have a smaller monitor. That is why.
Okay, well, it drives me nuts, dude. It's not conducive to people watching. You see how it like snaps around? It shows a chunk of the draft. It's just not, for how many drafts I'm about to be streaming on this thing, it is quite annoying.
All right, so we're gonna take, since I don't like the wide receiver value here, and Aubrey went, I do reach up sometimes to draft an elite defense, so I just take the Broncos there. Don't be afraid to come up an extra round or two, and if you want to take like an upside, developmental wide receiver RB5 at the end of the draft, you can definitely do that still.
Yeah, so for me, because I don't take a second kicker or a tight end, I always have this floating extra roster spot. And I like some guys that are basically undrafted right now on Yahoo. So whenever I get there and I can reach up and take a defense or a kicker I like, just like Ted said, I'm fine doing so. If like a Baker Mayfield's back here or something, I do think that's pretty appealing value. But here I'm probably just going to opt for, I like Dicker a lot, the LA kicker. He was like, that dude's nails from 50 plus. They should have plenty of trips to the red zone, kick plenty of balls. And then, I'll come around for, I always like to finish up with a running back because there's higher upside there. I think there's really good free handcuffs this year that I'm totally comfortable dipping my toes in the water on.
Yeah, for me, like the only kicker I will go and pay up for is Aubrey. So if Aubrey goes at any point in the draft, then I just take whatever my lottery ticket's going to be in the 14th and then come back with whatever kicker comes back to me at the end.
I mean, technically, I just took a round 14 kicker, which I always do. I guess technically what I paid up for was late round 13 Rams defense.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, unless it's Aubrey, I'd rather pay up for the defense.
Yeah, round 14.
It's not to say you can't just stream defense either. Like, that's a very viable strategy. Like, who is playing the Steelers this week, right? Like, totally acceptable strategy if you want to do that. But for me, if you can just get a defense, like, there's a couple every year that you can just start every week, right? That's the huge advantage, not having to put in waiver claims or drop fab on a defense every week.
So these are all guys I absolutely love as your running back 6, your last bench piece. Jonah Coleman is one of my favorite handcuffs in the business. I do have R.J. Harvey, though, so that's sort of counterproductive. Marshawn Lloyd, I think, is a great call with double injury Jacobs. I mean, we'll probably take him. Jaden Blue, I think, is going to be the third down back to an extent on the Cowboys this year. We'll do a Marshawn Lloyd, but any of those are so good if you're going to add them last. I had Mike Washington in the queue. I had Braylon Allen in the queue. All guys I'm very comfortable with. So let's go to results. Let's scroll through Ted's team so we can see it. Here is Ted's. Gets again a lot of channel favorites here. A lot of guys we totally endorse you drafting. Jaden Daniels, Rashee Rice, Mike Evans, James Cook, Devon Achane, Isaiah Likely, Javonte Williams, robust RB start. Borealis, Broncos, Tyson, Godwin, Monungai, Love, Sharps, Pat Bryant to fill it out. So that is how you recover from a robust RB start. Totally left running back alone until like round 9 and then round 12. That's what you should do. And then you take 2 flyers where if they hit, your roster's going to the moon, especially in a double flex league. That is how our very own Theodore built. For me, I go Dak Prescott, Emeka Egbuka, Lad McConkey, Marion Hampton, Ashton Genty, Juwan Johnson, Christian Watson, Dicker, the Rams, Washington, Corum, Harvey, Gainwell, Boston, Lloyd. I generally want my benches to look. I want a good wide receiver 4 that I feel great about. Check. I want a huge upside swing as my RB3 in a double hero build. Check. And then I want 2 guys that have the capacity within their range of outcomes to be league winners. I believe Harvey and Gainwell, should the guy in front of them go down, would both be league winners. And then I always want the upside rookie with the banger handcuff. So we both drafted from the back on that one. That is how you construct a double hero running back start. Again, in our guide, we're going to be very explicit about, like, in our opinion, that's the correct way to draft from like the 8 on. From the 5 or 6 on, you can actually still, from the 6 on, you can always get a double running back start if you're so inclined, if you push it. From the 5 on, you can at least start running back and make your life a little easier. And then the 3-4 are the trickiest spot, which is what I want to try to get one on stream of, is trying to navigate the 3-4 hole. So
Yeah,
why
I
don't
would
you?
say the back of the snake is pretty easy this year. Like,
Yes.
as long if you want to just go running back in the first 2 rounds, your builds on these platforms should be pretty easy.
Yep.
And I agree. Let's try and get a mock in with a in that like trickier 3 to 5 spot where we feel inclined to have to take wide receiver.
These are at
Um,
1 minute on all of
play
them.
action, play actions in 10 minutes.
Okay.
You want to do that?
Yeah, we can do that. We can scroll some Reddit and see what's going on. Play action, 10 minutes. Yeah, let's get our hole. Let's get our spot right.
3 and 5 just filled up in this one.
See if Sean moves. If Sean or Brewerton can move, that would be great. Damn it, though. It's all right. You could do the 4.
Well, I mean, it's 9 minutes away. We can just leave and go in another one.
We can, but these are filling up surprisingly quickly.
Yep, the everyone's getting excited now. Now that, like, the more casual leagues are sending out group chats. The Cousins League actually sent out a group chat today, so they're starting to get going. I invited them to the stream, and they cordially told me to keep the chat to just fantasy football only. Keep it relevant to our league. And I was like, okay, well, I guess Yahoo mock draft, because we're drafting on Yahoo, isn't relevant. I will keep that in mind.
Yeah, I'll move to 7. I think 1 and 2 is way too easy. 1 and 2 to me is just a very straightforward conversation. Take your running back of choice. If Brock Bowers is there at the turn, I think you have to take him because that's incredible value. And then I would take a second running back on the turn and then hammer wide receiver for 4 rounds. I don't really think there's like a conversation from 1 or 2 for me. And if not Brock Bowers, I'll take a receiver. I'll see if Loveland falls back to the turn. And that's how I'm handling it.
The only note I would say for spots 1 and 2 is I think that's much easier to just do a full hero build, especially since the running backs are getting pulled up, right? Like at the 2-3 turn, like I wouldn't feel compelled to have to take a second running back there because you have one of the elite options. That I just see a lot of people do it, right, in these rooms. That's why I think it's easy though. Like there's not really much to that.
Oh man, I really wanted to do that. I'm jealous Ted gets to do it. That is the thing. I'm at this point in my mocking for the year. I'm really only mocking 3 and 4 because I think that is the hardest spot. Okay.
It's weird because you'd think that I get an earlier pick. You'd think it'd be better, right? Oh, I get one of the elite wide receivers. That'd be great. But it's just the way that these rooms shake out. And I think you're right that our kind of channel history of drafting running back high is starting to become just more popular.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And now that more people are coming in to that, I guess, school of thought, it makes it a little bit different in these rooms, at least.
Oh, dude, it's one of the most annoying comments I've gotten. I keep waiting to see if a spot's going to open up. Maybe I'll just eat it. I'll just eat the 7s. It's one of the most annoying comments that I've gotten from people is you're just telling us to do what everyone else is doing now. Right, so it's a pretty regular feedback I've gotten for my stuff, and I'm like, no, we've been doing it for years. Everyone else is doing what we've been doing for years. And it's because they've actually been sweeping Justin Boone. Players were reaching for every time with Justin Boone. Justin Boone is currently the most accurate weekly and season-long ranker, the reigning champion from 2025. Pretty good guy to be keyed in on. We're scrolling Reddit to see what the fantasy. This is a huge subreddit. It's so active. I mean, look at that. You get like 1.2K upvotes. I always like to go through here and just see what people are talking about while we have some downtime. Running back usage is going to have to be a little bit more by committee this season in Jacksonville. Still think Tootin's going to be the one to own there, but I don't like paying a 75 price premium between Tootin and Rodriguez. I still think Tootin, certainly if you said there's a league winner to be found in Jacksonville, my pick would be Tootin, but the 75 pick difference in price tag is
more than your champion Parker Washington. That's shocking.
Well, no, league winner running back. Oh no,
Oh yeah,
I'm all in on Parker Washington. You know I am, but yeah.
yep. The slappies are starting to catch up. I saw a tweet today that said Parker Washington is clearly a round 3-4 guy. You should be
Oof.
taking him at the 3-4 turn. Like, all right, guys,
You
settle
know,
down.
the thing with that is, and you have to be careful about these late season risers. I do actually like I think it was Ryan Heath wrote an article on this last summer, that late season risers often don't rise enough. It's actually that you should have not only chased them up the board, you should have taken them ahead of the board. But I think you have to be aware of when you've chased all of the value out of a pick. And like at some point you have chased something up so high that like the initial value proposition that made them so appealing evaporates. And like I didn't even chase him as high as the high stakes leagues were going. I was all in on Tedero McMillan last year, and I in Yahoo you could have gotten him in the 6th round in a lot of drafts. I chased him to the 4 or 5 turn, sometimes late 4th, sometimes early 5th. And then it turns out that he basically returned the value of like I got a 3 or 4 pick value on him, right? I paid like wide receiver 26 to 27 prices, and I got the wide receiver 22 in points per game, wide receiver like 16 overall, but 22 in points per game. So like I basically hit a single because I chased that value up 10 to 15 spots. And I think people need to be aware of that when someone gets really hyped up. So like if Parker Washington gets to the point where you're taking him behind like a Jalen Waddle or a Terry McLaurin or a Mike Evans, like guys that have wide receiver 1 finishes under their belt, multiple wide receiver 1 finishes under their belt, I think the risk reward there, right? The value proposition becomes extremely expensive for a Parker Washington. To me, the whole thing is I can get him after those guys, and I think I still have a shot at wide receiver 1 production. That's very appealing to me. But not if it keeps going up.
Yep, we live in the fantasy content hot take land where, like, a take will become popular, right? And we'll get some steam, and then it's a competition about who can be the most excited about it.
Yeah.
It feels like to me.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Josh and Hayden succumbed to my. And you know what's funny is again, right? I'm such a fan of these players that if you annoy me a little bit with your bullishness, like that's pretty wild. When I heard them say that you should chase Jonathan Brooks all the way into the 5th round, dude, that is there's no more juice left to squeeze at that point once you're doing that,
Yeah, he's not a dead zone running back to me. Like
No.
those dead zone running backs are like I think their roles are pretty clear, or they've like shown in the league that they can be an RB1, and Jonathan Brooks has done neither of those things. Like, I think Brooks belongs now in that like Corum, Manungai, Dowdle conversation where it's like I don't know, like an ambiguous backfield, I guess. You're taking your favorite guy, but you're not getting a discount on that, really.
God, this subreddit's absolutely terrible today. Abusing rankings. Yeah, this is if you don't play on Yahoo, the ESPN and Sleeper ADPs are obscene. You guys should absolutely be abusing that. I think Parker Washington's in the 80s or 90s there. I think Jordan Tyson, even before his injury, was in the 80s or 90s there. I'm seeing a lot of fading on Terry McLaurin. I don't think you guys should be doing that. I feel just fine about Terry. I think some of his ceiling got sapped, certainly, but like fading? No.
Yeah, I don't think Diggs being added to the Skins roster affects Terry negatively in any way. I think his ceiling is still there, and at least the premise for me on the Jaden stuff and the Terry stuff is I think that duo is much closer to the Jaden rookie year output versus what we saw last year, where Jaden was battling injury and Terry was battling injury all year. You didn't really get a fair shakeout, right? Like, you had a couple nice Terry weeks with Marcus Mariota.
Yep.
He just got broken off too. Like, obviously he's, I guess, technically an unk at this point. It's not as exciting of a pick, but yep. I'm drafting the crap out of Terry in the 5th round, where he's regularly falling in these drafts.
Yep. No.
What do you think about the Puka fade going on? People are freaking out about Puka.
I'm not fading Puka. He has a psoas injury, which is not ideal. It's like a lower abdomen injury, but it's not a sports hernia. I'm not that. I just don't. To me, it's so rare to get an asset that can perform like Puka does. He's a very rare, like a historically rare fantasy asset. I'm just not overthinking it. Um, if they say he's getting suspended 2 or 3 games and there's concern for whatever, Brian Thomas Jr. to be showcased in the X role for the Panthers. Opinions will vary on whether or not that is bullish or bearish. The bull case there is that he will not come off the field for heavy personnel if he is their established X receiver, which it blows out receiver efficiency through the roof, so he could be really efficient. The bear case is that he gets 4 to 5 high A dot targets a game. He's boom bust, and it's a sketchy flex for you in redraft.
I don't know where this idea that the X receiver is inherently only getting deep work and is boom bust came from. It happens sometimes. You have the sacrificial X sometimes, but the X traditionally in football, maybe it's kind of changed over the past couple of years, but the X is traditionally the guy you want. That's like the alpha of your room, right? I still think it's ambiguous whether or not BTJ is going to be the alpha on that team, because we see these Z guys like getting a lot more work and coach scheme, that type of stuff. But
Okay, draft is opening up. Yeah, it's more like specifically Liam Cohen's X, but also X's in general. But yeah, the X receiver does tend to be, because like you don't work them into the slot, and think about like a short to intermediate or in breaking routes are much less common from the outside of the formation than the inside. It's just about where you're playing in the formation. I don't really have like for me, it's more just an evaluation of how Liam Cohen uses his slot and his X specifically that, to me is more bearish than bullish for Brian Thomas. But if he's out there on 3 tight end and 2 tight end sets and he's getting the play action work off of those sets, which Liam Cohen's fantastic at, it could absolutely mean that we have a hugely bullish outcome for him that we did not have last year. Because if he's out there as the single receiver, that's like what Devontae Adams was doing for the Rams last year. We obviously saw what that led to. Okay, so Jonathan Taylor goes here. I'll pull James. Oh my God, that stupid sound. I will pull James Cook up. I have no problem pulling James Cook up above all those receivers. Okay, so Ted has got the brutal spot. Ted has got the 3-4 spot. I am doing I guess this one's a good example though still, right? Because you could break ties toward running back where I'm drafting, and I will break ties toward running back. Ted gets the Puka Nacua start. And what gets really tricky here is there's very often going to be no running backs coming back to you from the 5th on. That's why I prefer to go Jonathan Taylor or James Cook over JSN. I think their upside's similar, maybe not as good, but then you can get a receiver you love, right? So Ted's going to have to make decisions here about how do you navigate this space. And what I've noticed is happening on Yahoo, you're getting around to this third, the early third, and like a Malik Neighbors or a Rashi Rice is still there. So all of a sudden, staring you in the face is a Puka Nacua, Drake London or AJ Brown, and then Rashi Rice or Malik Neighbors start. And I have a very hard time leaving that start on the board, but it's my least favorite structural draft is going 3 wide receiver early, the robust wide receiver start. It's been something that we're sort of working through, like how do you navigate, because I think it is pretty tricky.
Yeah, in this spot, you have to be more reactive, I guess, to what's going on, right? Like at the end of the snake, you are getting 2 running backs if you want it. In the front here, where I'm at, like a lot of times you're not getting that, and you have to just kind of adapt, and it creates some chaos a little bit later. But we'll see what comes back to me here.
Okay, well, a George Pickens reach probably does kick a running back down to you, I believe.
There's only one left.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I did get lucky. I got the Derrick Henry, so I got bailed out. Throw the draft out.
Yeah, I mean, see, that is the bummer, though, right? With like, that's just the nature of doing mock drafts. I don't believe in very many home leagues Derrick Henry is going to slide down that low. I know he does in some like sharper full PPR 3 wide receiver type stuff. If he does, I think you just take him. You don't think about it.
Yeah, that's like exactly what it is. Like for me sitting here, I was like, well, it's an auto click if it's Derrick Henry. So now like I'm back on track, right? Yeah. Like, and that'll happen sometimes, but I would say more likely than not, it's not going to happen in your rooms. And you have to like just kind of figure out what you're doing there.
The problem for me is like I'm comfortable with Love, I'm comfortable with Jacobs, and I'm less comfortable but still comfortable with Brees Hall at this price range. Where it becomes again a totally different value proposition for me is: are you telling me I'm leaving Rashee Rice or Malik Neighbors on the board, or like Nico Collins on the board for them? That's tough. That's a different question, right? Where you're talking about like giving up something that could be a top six receiver. Um, so yeah, like if you exactly like that, right? And that's just a tough thing for me to navigate because I so much prefer two running backs through 3 rounds. I'm very comfortable with the dead zone guys this year. If you come around and double up there, I still think that's completely fine.
Yeah, man. If you told me that I could start out a draft with Puka Nakua and Rashee Rice, who have 300
Yeah,
targets
yeah,
between the two of them and their range outcomes, and then you can sprinkle in a Derrick Henry there,
yeah.
perfectly happy with it. And I feel like I can still draft best available going forward. Like to me, on this board, it's the easy Trey McBride for you, but we'll see what you do.
Zay Flowers for me. Don't prefer the early tight ends.
Like for me, in my spot, at the 3-4, if Rashee Rice is already gone, I would have taken McBride there.
Yeah,
But I view Rashee Rice as fundamentally different in an edge
Mm-hmm,
over even what I perceive to be the elite tier of tight ends.
mm-hmm.
I think there's only two of them. That is a topic of debate on the channel about who is actually an elite tight end.
Again, for me, it's really just like a structural thing, and I don't know. Maybe it's going to really kill me this year, and I'm going to learn a lesson. I'm going to learn a hard lesson about fade and hype trains. And when I hear every analyst and their mother saying to take a tight end in round 2 or 3, when we've only had one tight end historically that's ever performed at a level where that's a plus EV move, and I understand we have two. Well, we've had two now. We've had Trey McBride too. Um, I just
Like
I,
that guy just went Tyler Warren for one. That's ridiculous. Don't do that.
no, don't do
Right?
that.
Like if you're gonna pay up, there's only two guys I'd pay up for, and it is exactly McBride and Bowers. If you do it.
Yep. This turn is a little bit annoying for me because I'm not thrilled with Teteroa McMillan. I still would take him at cost, but I very much prefer Igbuka. I'm probably taking Teteroa above Garrett Wilson, begrudgingly. This feels a little too early to pull Terry up when I think we're going to have some shots at like round 5 Terry in some places. I would have had him up there before all the signings. Okay, so that is the choice, right? Garrett Wilson or Teteroa McMillan. We'll do Teteroa to follow it up. I think I prefer him to Garrett Wilson, but it's very close. I think the offense should be a hair better. So that'll be our start. Zay Flowers, Teteroa McMillan, James Cook, O'Marion, Hampton. Again, a nice 2-2, the free Tendies Fantasy 2-2 start. However you get there.
And then for me here, I prefer the wide receivers to the running backs in this range. But because of the game theory, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put the Cam Scattaboo in the bag here at the 4-9 and take whatever comes back to me in the 5th round because I feel that is such a good range.
Mm-hmm. For me, I probably prefer Swift there, but I'm totally fine with Cam. Cam's a bigger swing. I'm uncomfortable personally with the way his off seasons develop, but he looked good today. Did look good out there today.
Yeah, I definitely don't prefer Swift there.
Let's see.
And the reason I'm not making the Swift bet is you can just get Manung guy 3 to 4 rounds cheaper, and I think that's going to be pretty similar. So for me, that's easy Mike Evans.
Yeah. Yep.
Monty and Quinshon Judkins being here is interesting in these Yahoo rooms. A lot of times they'll get pulled up, but the guy drafting at 1 is kind of doing what we suggest, where he went Gibbs, Bowers, and then followed that up with Neighbors, Terry, and Luther Burden, which is a 6 start. I really like that from him. And you can if I didn't get the falling Derrick Henry value there at the 2-9, I still could have come back and taken instead of Mike Evans one of the guy. I feel good about Montgomery. I feel okay about Tootin. Bucky is interesting to me. You can absolutely roll out there with that as your RB2 if that's the way the board falls, and you kind of have the elite wide receiver room to back it up.
Yep, for me, I hit that choice of like Christian Watson, J-Mo Williams, Odunze, Parker Washington, who are all guys I really, really like. But I want to make sure I have some pretty heavy Parker Washington exposure this year. That is a take I feel very good about. So I am chasing it up the board to an extent. Is that smart? Is that stupid? Am I slappy? Time will tell. Um, I would be pretty happy though here with a Zay Flowers, McMillan, Parker Washington bet. Two guys that made my 20 players priced at their floor article. Okay, so get a little bit of a bad turn there with. I was hoping that Jaden Daniels would still be on the board because I would take him if he were here.
There's still some great values here, though.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I think the quarterback shopping starts.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Okay, a little bit of a tough call for me there between tight ends I love and a wide receiver I'm very high on. I'd probably take a Marvin Harrison Jr. There's my wide receiver 4. Marvin Harrison Jr., mid-6, wide receiver 4, because wide receiver really thins out once you come around this turn. Again, Jaden or May there, instant click for me. But that is not the way the board fell.
So we're going to pull up Kraft here. I've been taking a lot of zero tight end in these rooms, but I think that this is fine to get some Kraft.
Mm-hmm.
For the record, I would not be drafting Sam Laporta over Tucker Kraft. It seems like a consensus in these rooms. I don't know where that came from, but it couldn't be me.
I don't know how I feel about that. I'm close on those guys. I think I view them very similarly. I think Kraft is more TD dependent, where Laporta will get more volume. But I also think there's a world where like Love just decides Kraft is his favorite target. I'm very fine with both. I'm happy with if you get one or the other. I think you're rolling there.
So for me here, I don't super want to reach on a running back at this point because I don't like Warren and Pollard, and I think there's one more quarterback at this range I'm interested in, so I'll just take the Herbert.
Oh, so we lose Trevor Lawrence there. Trevor Lawrence was at the top of the queue. That would have been a instant click for me.
That guy did you a favor. You didn't want Trevor anyways.
In your opinion?
He saved you, dude.
In your opinion. Okay. Yeah, so that's a very easy Jalen Warren. I don't like doing the volume-based plays in round 7. That's typically a round I'm just avoiding like the plague for running back. But Jalen Warren I like as an upside play this year.
I can't believe you're drafting Jalen Warren over Jordan Tyson now. God,
just
the dagger.
Just have to wait and see, dude. My second opinions to me sounds like trying to avoid IR for a hamstring that's now been ongoing for years. Once we're getting into that range, dude, I'm pretty skittish. I am pretty skittish.
Ooh, that guy pulls up Dobbins in the 7th round. Ball knower.
So I always debate here about chasing up like a quarterback I feel really good about, but I think the odds are, or the fact is, like, how much of a difference is there between waiting another turn? We'll do Blake Corum again here. Blake Corum and Warren Harrison, very strong bench in my opinion, but we are going 0-0 on the tight end and QB. So at some point here, we do have to catch up, get our stuff together. For me, I don't mind. I didn't like the Bo Nix quotes at all. That freaked me out from Sean Payton yesterday, but we'll just see. Hopefully, like, it's not quite as bearish come draft time. But when
Uh,
he's
we're we're
yeah
we're buying the discount on Chuba Hubbard 8th round.
yeah when Sean Payton says something like, "Yeah, I think he's mostly healthy," like, "Yeah, I think he's mostly healthy" is it's an alarming term to hear.
And then I can go ahead and get Monungai here as my RB4, and now I feel like it's just a total recovery in my RB room. Like, I guess having only 3 wide receivers could be an issue, but I feel like you can kind of pick the value here at the back.
Okay. So Dart was the quarterback in contention here, but we'll go with an old man, Travis Kelce. Just get some easy volume in the boat at tight end. Especially because I have 4 wide receivers and 4 running backs. I feel great about. That's when I will just fill out my roster at that point. Stop messing around. My 2 favorite quarterback 2 targets are by far Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield. I feel really good if I get either one in the boat. But Jared Goff more so because of how Vegas projects the offense. They don't play an outdoor game until week 17. I think we're live here for one of the best seasons of Jared Goff's career. Their defense is atrocious as well. He's going to have to throw a lot to keep them into games. So that is how we recover from our 0 start. Jared Goff, Travis Kelce in the boat. I feel good about that. I'm totally comfortable starting Goff this year. I know that people will not be, to the extent they may think like that's crazy to take him over Patrick Mahomes. I'm just not a Patrick Mahomes guy. Now, had I seen Gainwell there, I probably would have taken Gainwell, but it's okay.
I was happy to take Patrick Mahomes at almost the 11th round there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Reason being, I thought that the wide receivers would kind of fall a little bit, and they do, so I get Shaheed, wide receiver 4, in there.
yeah, I think most people will be totally content with Mahomes, and I'm not going to tell you not to be. I'm just saying for me, it's not a pick I make. One of my favorite wide receiver 5s continues to be last year's wide receiver 15, who was paid handsomely in free agency and brought into the coaching staff that has brought them in everywhere they've been in their career, from college to New York to now Tennessee, with Brian Daboll and Wan'Dale Robinson. I think if you're getting the wide receiver 15 from last year, who has an extensive history with the coaching staff as your wide receiver 5, with a quarterback that is now showing signs that he may be dubious throwing down the field, you should do that. And then my favorite handcuff in all of fantasy at the moment, it's at cost. Obviously, I like Corum more. Tyrone Tracy Jr. as my running back 5. That if I end up with him as my running back 5 anywhere, I'm absolutely elated. 1,000 yards back to back from the position, and you can get him for free. You guys should always do that.
So then we do our round 13 Aubrey. Get him in there.
Okay, and then generally, we still have a few picks, but I will. Oh, it's my turn. Okay. So I like throwing in a upside tight end 2 here. It was going to be Barner or Ferguson. I am sort of enamored with the idea that Ferguson could end up really getting a volume role with Seattle, and then all of a sudden we're looking at like something totally different here, as far as like value that we might get out of him. So for that reason, if I have like a Kelsey, if I have an Andrews, if I have a Goddard, who are like my late target throws, even if I have like a George Kittle, I think it's so worth it for you guys to hold on to Ferguson for a few weeks and just see what happens with him. Cut him if not. It's no skin off your ass, right? Like he doesn't. It's a last round pick. It does not mean anything to drop him to waivers. You'll drop him for streaming anyway. But what if he comes out there and he's getting 6 to 8 targets a game from Sean McVay? You might have found like. Again, I don't know if that's probable per se, but like you might have found a league winner in your last pick of the draft. So always do that when you have a tight end that you feel questionable about. That wraps up my draft. Again, very much a team that I would be building and would be rocking in the season. Jared Goff, Zay Flowers, McMillan, Cook, Hampton, Kelsey, Washington, Pinheiro, the Eagles, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jalen Warren, Blake Corum, Wandale Robinson, Tyron Tracy Jr., Terrence Ferguson. Let's check out Ted's roster. Ted goes Justin Herbert, Puka Nacua, Rashee Rice, Derrick Henry, Cameron Scatterbo, Tucker Kraft, Mike Evans, Aubrey, Chargers, Hubbard, Manungai, Mahomes, Shaheed, Samuel, McMillan. Curious why, if you had those three receivers, you would go 6 receivers with that. What is your thinking?
I think there is some Mike Evans injury concern, and I guess wanted more depth there.
Yeah, I guess Debo actually would be a beneficiary of that. Okay, are we calling it at 2? Do we want to do one more? What are you thinking? I mean, these are kind of long.
I think we should do one more where you take kind of like that trouble spot, and I'll draft in the mid. So we don't need to show 1, 2, like we said. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Also, these drafts are flying, by the way, very quick.
Okay,
we have.
Hold on, we're right here at Power Sweep. 5 minutes with opening.
Okay.
Can you find it? I know 6. That was quick.
Yeah, I got it. I got 8. That's fine.
You're not in this one. I'm in Power Sweep, and I don't see you.
No, I'm in there.
Huh? You're not listed.
I see you at 4, and I'm at 8.
Okay.
Just refresh the page.
Oh, there you are.
Yep.
Somehow my headphones are at 5%. They were at 45%. I don't know if they die. I don't know what happens, to be very honest with you. I mean, I'll just check the audio. You can still hear me, right?
Yes, I can still hear you. How long have we been live?
I don't even know. Hold on. You can still hear me, right? Okay. Good. They're still working there. If they cut out, I mean, we'll just check. We could just cut it if they don't work. But that does suck because I did get the position I really want. I don't even have a long micro USB to plug into these things while I'm talking. I don't even know if they will work while I'm talking. Okay, we will see. 5%, we're still live.
Yeah, sometimes when, I don't know how long you've had those, but sometimes the charge in your devices will kind of, as they get older, drain quicker. So it'll go from 45% to 5%.
Oh yeah, dude, these are years old. These are the first generation of the premium Beats wireless. Do you remember those commercials that they used to do for those? This is I think I've had them 5 or 6 years. Okay, we can still see what's going on with Reddit. Again, I think the only thing is I would just shift the audio source, and I don't think that's actually a problem. Oh, wait, it's going to be you talking through the laptop though. That's going to create that weird echo thing.
Yeah, maybe. It's hard to say. So hopefully we just make it through this draft.
Hopefully.
Yanni came woefully unprepared. He was just excited for the UFC. He was excited to see some Mackenzie Dern.
Oh my God, how gorgeous is she, dude? She's actually a good fighter too. It's not just a looks thing. I wouldn't say great or anything, but she's entertaining. She fights like an idiot. She'll go out there and throw bombs and do all that sort of stuff. And yeah.
I remember when she first joined the UFC and couldn't make weight.
Yep.
That was a thing for a while. Seems like she got that figured out.
Well, yeah, you don't want to assume anything, but she's, Brazilian. I would assume she's had some work done. Some work done with some extra weight she's carrying around, But yeah.
What?
Well, I don't want to be explicit. She's had things added to her body that make her heavier. And that was a big controversial thing about
is that a Brazilian exclusive thing? I've never
Brazil is the world's
that stereotype.
Brazil is the world's leader in cosmetic plastic surgery. Yes, they are the leading in the world of elective plastic surgery. People go there just to get done up, Dude, have you never like seen? I mean, I guess because it's like I'm a UFC guy, right, or a UFC fan. UFC guy. No, I'm certainly not because I'm a UFC fan. You know, you see a lot of like they have events in Brazil, and then the Brazilian fighters. You watch the video. They do like home videos before every fight. Yeah, dude, everyone in Brazil's perfect. They're all gorgeous because they all get like work done. It's a very common thing.
Yeah, I've never noticed that. The only stereotype I know about Brazil is they're all the jujitsu guys.
Yep. Well,
Brazil
yeah.
loves jujitsu.
Yes.
Also, they're good at soccer. Not so much this year though. Brazil's national team is terrible.
Yeah, they are good at soccer. So I think actually OBS is hidden from screen, so you can't even see it, Ted. I think worst case scenario, what I would do is cut your mic so we don't get any echo, and I can just talk through the rest of the draft if that goes down.
Okay.
Because what I think's gonna happen is if you go to my computer audio, we're gonna get that crazy echo thing, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
So I just will get it out of the way early. I will still enunciate and call out your draft from the 8 hole. But yeah, I think you're right. I did want to get one of these on camera, especially one where you don't get the running back falling back, because I do believe that's going to be far more common, is to have to go wide receiver from here.
Okay. Enter the draft.
Interesting that Amon Ra has tied JSN and ADP, but Christian McCaffrey has not jumped him.
I'm not. I don't think I'll be drafting Amon-Ra this year. It's not even that I don't like him. It's just that I bumped Taylor and McCaffrey over him, just from like a game theory standpoint.
I mean,
Maybe that bites me in the ass.
Best ball was a little bit different, right? Because you're talking about like sometimes full PPR, 3 wide receiver. There, I think Amon Ra's like incredibly valuable. Maybe it's a little bit different here. I don't know. I'm probably just avoiding both. I'm probably just drafting running backs there structurally. Okay. Let's try to navigate what I consider the death spot of the draft, 3 and 4. Again, 5 is also, you could run into these problems if you're insistent on a JSN or Amon-Ra start, then you are going to run into those problems. I would advise you avoid it, but it's going to be very similar. It's a very similar set of decisions you have to make between 3, 4, 5. It is the only spot in the draft that I am truly uncomfortable being put into if I have to. So it's a good thing we're showing it. This is all I'm mocking at this point is 3, 4, 5. 1 and 2.
So like for
easy.
me there with the JSN fall, I feel like I have to take him. And that is a player that I will forego running back start to get at 8.
Yeah, at 8, yeah. Well, so the value of that decision changes, right? Because if you're not at 5, the reason, it's actually a weird argument, but it's how I rationalize it. At 5, you're not guaranteed to get a running back on the comeback, which to me makes JSN much more expensive structurally. If you're at 8 and JSN falls back to you, you can have almost any running back you want, right? You're going to get your pick of the litter in that back half of running back ones. That's fine. Let it rip. It's specifically in 5 and 6 that it stresses me out to make that decision, much more so than in the back half.
I feel like in 6 you usually see one of them fall back because there's a guy who takes Jefferson and there's a guy who takes the Lamb, usually.
Yeah, I thought it was 7. I mean, I could double check. I thought it was 7 where you're guaranteed a running back and 6 where you usually do, but not always. And it comes down to, does someone take London or A.J. Brown? But I might be wrong about that. It might be 6, not 7.
Well, the other thing is at 6, I just draft James Cook if he's there. If it goes the 2 super running backs, then that elite tier of wide receivers, I'll just pull up Cook. I don't care.
Yep. But yeah, excited to watch Mackenzie Dern fight. She's fighting Jillian Robertson, the Savage. Jillian Robertson is actually one of the most accomplished submission fighters in MMA, women's MMA history. But Mackenzie Dern is an international champion at BJJ. She is absolutely not getting submitted by someone like Jillian. Probably going to be a stand-up fight. She's probably going to knock her out. If I had to bet, I think whatever the odds are on Mackenzie Dern by TKO, probably a pretty good bet. And then Ian Gary versus Islam Makhachev. always interested to see how these fights play out. Gary's been living in Brazil for a while to get his Brazilian jiu-jitsu up. I just think when you take a striker like that and you try to catch up your ground game with someone who's truly like one of the greats in the world in Islam Makhachev and for MMA ground game, there's only so much ground you can cover that late in the game. So I expect Islam to be able to take him down and hold him down. Gary will make it a little bit interesting on his feet, but Islam is not Habib, where he's like a strictly ground fighter. Islam's stand-up is pretty spectacular. I think they're probably all on steroids, the Eastern European dudes. But, he's a really, really, probably one of the most well-rounded fighters in the history of the sport. So I think Gary's in for a tough one.
Look at you starting Brock Bowers.
I didn't
Even with AJ Brown on the board.
I didn't start Brock Bowers. My thing froze.
Oh, well, you got Bowers.
Oh, my God. That's so stupid. Okay. My internet froze.
I would have taken Brock Bowers there.
No.
Actually, no, I would have taken AJ Brown, but
yeah, that would have been an AJ Brown pick for me. We're still gonna do these. See, I wouldn't do a 0 start here. Oh God. Okay.
Love might make it back.
Yeah, it would be Love or Hall or Jacobs for me up here. I prefer Love. Okay, so we'll do Love. That should have been a double. Oh, dude, now the whole thing's not what I wanted to show. That should have been a double wide receiver start with the Love anchor, because that is how I would try to start from here. It's very annoying. God damn it, dude. I got so into discussing the UFC. I will say, though, for me, the line where I would take Bowers, AJ Brown needs to be off the board, and so does Drake London. If Drake London and AJ Brown are on the board, I'm under no circumstances taking Bowers. I think Nico Collins, Pickens, and Neighbors are probably in that category for me too, but I'm not sure. It really gets in my head how many pros seem very convinced that Brock Bowers is like the best pick you could make in the second round. And there's like a lot of guys who know more fantasy than I do, right? They're better fantasy managers than I am. And I think you have to be humble enough to realize if they're that committed to that stance, maybe you should take it seriously to some extent. I don't know, you don't need to change your whole thought process, but it's like there are guys that are hardcore dedicated to Brock Bowers should be for like a 1-2 turn pick, but there were guys doing that last year, and it was a tough outcome. So,
well, dude, for me, like I won't take London over Bowers.
Yeah.
Like I will do AJ Brown, but then I will do Bowers. So like where you took him is about where I would be comfortable, other than the AJ Brown thing. But that's like a 1 pick difference, right?
Yep.
The other game theory here too is that if you go wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, you get more falling wide receiver value. You can't start that player, right? Versus if you take Bowers and you get a sick fall in the 5th round, that person could still be in your lineup. So I've been more willing to pull up Bowers in these types of rooms where you're seeing the wide receivers fall.
Yeah, so this is going to be a home league specific thing. I don't do this on like underdog, but I am more anxious to so like again, right, because we view this differently. For me, what would kill me is like if you could have gotten Loveland 30-25 picks later, I don't think the value there's anywhere close. Like if Loveland's here at 45, I think I took an L taking Bowers at 18 or whatever, 19. If you don't believe in Loveland, right, that's not as strong of a statement. But for me, that looms large over this conversation.
Yeah, if you think that Colston Loveland is in the same tier as those guys, then I could see how you'd reach that conclusion.
Yeah.
To me, I was happy to take Trey McBride at 3-8 there.
Okay, so I think that this will be a DeAndre Swift, a Montgomery, whomever you prefer here, but you can recover and still get your 2 running backs through 5 rounds, which is a quintessential aspect of our draft guide. I think that's perfectly doable. You're just going to get a pseudo RB1 in Love, Hall, Jacobs, and then you're going to get like an ETN, Scattaboo, Montgomery, DeAndre Swift in the late 4th. I'm fine starting Bowers. Maybe I even end up liking it a little bit depending on how this thing pulls out. And like Ted has been harping on multiple times here. Again, for me, it's Mike Evans is like the golden fifth round pick I can make here. That's the one that I'm really chasing. But I'm perfectly content with Christian Watson. I'm perfectly content with Parker Washington too. I think DJ Moore, he got a high ankle today actually, so he's probably not going to be someone I'm drafting a lot of. But J-Mo Williams, perfectly fine. Oh my god, the stupid sound. Okay. Okay, so that is our start with Brock Bowers. I would actually be excited about this. Puka Nacua, Mike Evans, Jeremiah Love, ETN, Brock Bowers. Let's see what Ted's got cooking over there. Jackson Smith and Jigba, O'Marion Hampton, Trey McBride at the 3-8. See, again, to me, the value there is just so much better between Bowers where he goes and McBride where he goes. JSN, Hampton, Ladd, McConkey, very good start. And McBride, very, very good start.
You're about to get some mid-fifth round Luther Burden, too.
Yep. Yeah, no other big UFC. Let's make sure my headphones are still alive. 2%. Oh man, these things are going down. No other big UFC like names necessarily today. There's some good fighters, but no big names. Should be a good card though. Ian Gary was staring down Islam Makhachev, and he said, "Islam, this is the biggest card of the year, eh?" And Islam goes, "No, it's not." His very deadpan Eastern European delivery. He's not as impressed with their fight as Ian Gary is. So generally speaking, structurally, this is a big issue for me. I really like Tucker Kraft or Sam Laporta back here, and they actually both end up going. But like 7th round Tucker Kraft or Sam Laporta as opposed to top 20 Bowers. I guess it just depends, right? But at that point, you are betting on a legendary season from Bowers, like a league-defining season, which again seems to be what people think he'll have. But if not, like, I don't know how much he performs. Tucker Kraft was like zero point 0.2 points away from Trey McBride when he was healthy last year. Sam Laporta has a tight end number 1 overall finish under his belt. It's a very, very tough value proposition for me there.
Crazy fall on JMO, by the way. Someone's getting a mid to late 6th round JMO.
Yeah, someone will.
There goes Brooks mid 6th. Harold Fannin.
Yeah, Fannin goes there sometimes. There's some people who think he's like the wide receiver 1 for...
Dude, how is Jameson Williams still on the board, guys? There you go. Thank you, Yanni.
Because I do prefer Parker Washington to him, but yes, I will take that. So this was like last year, dude. I don't know if people realized last year what was going on with wide receiver ADP on Yahoo. That's why I just absolutely raked. You could get like Jameson Williams, Zay Flowers, Rashee Rice, Chris Olave. I actually took Ricky Pearsall in some places who was good until he got hurt. You could get the most insane 6-7 turn in the world for receivers last year. Now that Jordan Tyson's out, who was my favorite 6-7 turn, it's not as appealing, but you can still get Brian Thomas Jr., Marvin Harrison Jr., sometimes one of these guys to fall. I'm comfortable pulling Chris Godwin up there if you want. You can absolutely powerhouse that 6 or 7 turn, which makes Brock Bowers or Trey McBride at the late 2nd, early 3rd much more palatable. I don't think this is very realistic. Like, I don't think there's any competitive league where you're going to see Parker Washington and Williams there at the 6-7 turn, but that is the turn we got. It's unfortunately all you can work with when you're mock drafting like this. That's all you have is the room. But yeah, that's a pretty wild. I don't know, maybe in some casual league, if you're in like a taco enough league, maybe you can in fact get those guys that late.
Yeah, I just got Brian Thomas like late 7th round.
Yeah, like, again, that's all we have, right? Imperfect tools to demonstrate this stuff with. But if it happens, take it to the bank. Ramondre Stevenson too. Very boring pick in many ways, but he's technically their RB1 on their depth chart. I don't really know. Uh,
I am pulling up Dobbins there.
yeah, yeah. It's just not a very exciting pick for me, but I get it. I do get it.
It's far more exciting to me than Ramondre Stevenson.
Oh, I mean, Ramondre is not a very exciting pick, but I do
Oh,
get making that pick. No, Dobbins is exciting because there's league winning potential there. I totally get that. I love Mason here. I love Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt here. I love RJ Harvey, but my absolute favorite third running back in any sort of double hero start, which is two running backs through five, is always Blake Corum. That's a big one for me. Because this running back tier is pretty homogenous and we have Mike Evans, I would probably go Purdy there just to lock up a high upside quarterback.
yeah. When you feel good about like 4 or 5 names on the board,
Yeah.
right, and you're kind of near the end, like you are, like I think that is better to just get your quarterback in, and then you can take whatever falling value. Like, so you're a Jordan Mason guy, so that's an easy click for you. For me, I'm hoping Manungai makes it back.
Yeah. Yeah, and it sucks to lose, again, Corum, who, I really love my Corum. Ted loves Manungai. I think there's an argument to be made that RJ Harvey's criminally underpriced. I would play all those a little bit differently depending on who I have in my roster where. But yeah, and now this tier of running back is way cheaper here than it is in best ball. I think you can pick some really good running back value as you get deep on the board here.
Oh no, this guy next to me is going to take Manungai. He only has Bucky and Rico. No, he doesn't. Okay, W.
UFC starts at 2:30. I'm still glad we did this, but now I'm so behind on the writing, dude. Got to get this done by tomorrow so it drops on a weekend when it'll get the most views. And it needs to be done kind of soonish so it's still useful to people. Like it can't be too close to draft time that you knock it out.
What do we got here? You know what? We're gonna get on aboard the Slappy train. DeJon Stribling,
Like it.
wide receiver 5.
Exactly the type of wide receiver 5 you should have. Someone who can win you leagues.
Yahoo grades that pick a D plus. It does not like the Slappy pick there.
Yeah,
I'm a Stribling guy.
I just don't care. Yahoo's fucking trash with their ratings, dude. So again, right, if we have 4 wide receivers like that, I'm pretty not concerned with my 5th wide receiver. You throw one on just to throw one on, but I don't care what happens there. I would say in a realistic room, this is more going to be like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Brian Thomas Jr. or like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Chris Godwin, Brian Thomas Jr. and Chris Godwin. I don't think it's going to be Parker Washington and J-Mo Williams. Sometimes you get really lucky with that. I think that was probably just a byproduct of the mock drafting nonsense that you see this time of year. Okay, one of my favorites this year, Kenny Gainwell. Probably Chris Rodriguez needs to start mixing in ahead of him, but here what I'm worried about when I have a double hero, right? This is how I conceptualize how to build a room like that. I'm worried about who is most likely to become a league winner on my roster. I don't care about volume. I don't care about likelihood to get starts. Okay. Wait. Headphones just died. Okay. Wait. TED Talk. Headphones just died. Okay. Okay, interesting. So it just cuts you off the call, but I think TED Talk. Headphones just died. Okay. Okay. Okay, interesting. Okay, so I guess I can just keep talking. We'll mute your mic just in case. But yeah, I'm still coming through. Okay, so my headphones died. We didn't expect to go this long. Well, that's okay. So that is how I am thinking of a running back room. We'll see who we get to wrap this thing up with. Ooh. Auto pick. No, but that's okay because I would have taken Rodriguez there. Okay, Savage room. Rodriguez there. Okay. Make sure the audio is still going. Good, we're good. Audio is still going. So my favorite are wide receiver fives right now to wrap up rooms with. My absolute favorites, Wandale Robinson. I love Casey Concepcion. I'm okay with Worthy. I'm not a big Worthy guy. I love Dobbs in case he gets the slot role for the Patriots. Deebo Samuel, I think, is a perfectly good start. He could be pressed into service in a pretty big way this year if Christian McCaffrey goes down. I think he's good for 6 to 8 touches through the 49ers. We'll see who we wrap this room up with. But again, very happy with this recovery from the 3 to 4 spot. Anchor your room down with one of our pseudo RB1s. Get one of the dead zone running backs. I don't care if they're called dead zone running backs. I want one as my second running back, usually at the mid 4th up to the early 5th. This one was a Bowers instead of elite wide receiver. That's fine. And then 6-7 turn, wide receiver, and then running backs all the way through. No stream audio. No stream audio. I can hear myself on the stream. Okay, would not have taken a second quarterback there, but we were trying to make sure that the audio is still running. That would be like an extra running back. My favorites are like Jonah Coleman, whoever. Getting a little goofy here now that my headphones died, but that's okay. We will finish it up. Zach Charbonnet or Tank Bigsby certainly would have been my pick there over a second quarterback. We'll take it. They probably like it. I like Jonah Coleman a lot as your 6th running back. I like Jonah Blue a lot. I like Mike Washington. I like Braylon Allen. So those are all guys I would have added over Daniel Jones. It auto-picked for me while we were making sure everything was set up. It's okay. It happens. We get a little messy. We will see how Ted finishes this thing up soon enough. Let's look at the board. See what Ted's been jamming back here. Woody Marks. Ted is a big Woody Marks guy. He gets Tyrone Tracy Jr. We love Tyrone Tracy Jr. Dejon Stribling, one of the best wide receiver 5s you could possibly get this year. Again, that is how you should conceptualize your wide receiver 5, is who has within their range of outcomes the ability to become a roster mainstay. Asymmetric outcomes, right? Almost no downside to missing, but like roster changing upside to hitting. That's how you guys should be drafting. My favorite defense to wrap up any of these, unless they've already been taken, the Chargers get Arizona, and I think the Raiders to start the season. I think there's a good chance you get off to a 2-0 start there with the Chargers if you take them. So I do generally jam them here as my favorite defense. I think the 49ers defense in general this year is underrated, but they have a tough start of season schedule. And then Eddie Pinheiro is one of my favorite kickers too. So I swing back around and get old Eddie P if I can get the Chargers in round 14. Okay, it put me on auto pick. That's okay. But it got my guys. Dicker, Chargers. Okay. Here is my roster from the 3-4 hole, the death spot of the lineup. Again, Parker Washington and Williams will not be there in any competitive league. That's more likely going to be like Chris Godwin and Marvin Harrison Jr., which is a much less savage team, right? Or Chris Godwin and Brian Thomas Jr. So it's okay. That's still a team I'd be happy with. Brock Purdy, Puka Nacua, Mike Evans, Jeremiah Love, Travis Etienne. Bowers, Washington, Dicker, Chargers defense, Williams, Mason, Gainwell, Rodriguez, Robinson. Jones would be another running back. It auto-picked. I didn't know it threw me on like mandatory auto there. That's okay though. So that's how we pick. I would draft again a lot like that, just with the extra running back at the end. Instead, let's see how Ted turned this out. Ted goes Jalen Hurts at an excellent value, JSN, Lad McConkey, O'Marion Hampton, J.K. Dobbins, McBride, Burden, McPherson, Vikings, Brian Thomas Jr., Monungai, Stribling, Tyron Tracy Jr., Jordan Love, Woody Marks. Very good, very good. Okay, so those are our mock drafts. That's how we build from a couple different portions of the draft. We got to do the end, we got to do the middle, and we got to do the shitty middle, which is like the 3 to 5 spot. We'll probably run a couple more of these. I got enough requests from the free Tendies leagues. They wanted to see how we're doing it. That's how we're doing it. Thank you guys so much for liking, for stopping in. Feel free to drop a like. Feel free to drop a subscribe. Come in the Discord. If you think we draft really terribly, we are opening up like 20, 25 grand in prizes. Come take our money at the free Tendies Fantasy League cluster. We may add a few leagues. We're filling up and paying up so quickly. I might be adding more of them right before the summer ends, like right before the draft season ends, like the week of kickoff. So we'll see. Like I said, though, thank you guys for stopping by. I hope you got something out of it. Just different builds. We'll have another one where we showcase different parts of the draft. So should be really fun. Keep your eyes peeled. We're going live every day, and we will see you guys